in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to oath of office. New board members, would like to join me? All right, well, new and.
Please state your name. Amen. Al Schmidt. I swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of Minnesota.
I swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of school board member
And I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of school board member of Spring Lake Park Schools, Independent School District number 16,
of Spring Lake Park Schools, Independent School District number 16,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
That's right. Oh, too fun. That was fun. All right. Moving on to organization of board. Let's see. So this year, as last year, we're doing board elections by affirmation or acclamation. Excuse me. Thank you. By acclamation. We'll move to ballots if we need to. So let's go ahead and we'll open up election of chairperson. Any nominations?
I nominate Tony Easter.
Sure. Any other nominations? All right. Through acclamation, Tony Easter is elected to the board chair. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Moving on to election of vice chairperson. Any nominations? Other nominations? No other nominations? We'll close nominations, and by acclamation, Amy Hennon is vice chair. Congratulations. Moving on to election of clerk. Can you get a nomination? Second. Any other nominations? We'll close nominations, and through acclamation, Marilyn Forsberg is our clerk. Congratulations, Marilyn. And moving on to election of treasurer.
I nominate Sam Bilella.
Other nominations? We'll close nominations, and through acclamation, Sam Bilella is our treasurer. Congratulations, Sam. And moving on to board parliamentarian. Any nominations? So we had a motion by Hennon and seconded by Schmidt to make Melody our board parliamentarian. All right.
She did agree to it.
Yeah, she did. Yes, sorry, just, we do want to clarify. Yes, thank you. Yep. She's gonna find out when she returns from her trip that she's, yep.
Right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Erlen. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, congratulations to board members on their position. And let's go ahead and move to adjourn the regular organizational meeting. Can I get a motion? So moved by Villela, second by Forsberg, to adjourn the meeting at 7:07. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are now adjourned. All right. So moving on to regular meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Any changes to the agenda as presented? No changes to the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? So moved by McCullen. Thank you. Second? By Hennon. To approve the agenda as presented, so, all in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? All right. Motion passes. Moving on to some future events. Please check the district website for a complete list of monthly events. Monday, January 15, 2024, no school for students or staff. Buildings, childcare, and district services center closed. Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, school board work session, 6 p.m. Tuesday, February 13, school board regular meeting at 7 p.m. with communication to the board and administration. Moving on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion? So moved by Schmidt. Second by Hennon. To approve the following items of the consent agenda. Minutes of the December 2023 regular meeting and work session. Bills paid for November 2023 in the following amounts: $3,826,857, and personnel items. Moving on to presentations. Oh, sorry. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Thank you for correcting me on that. And moving on to presentations, special guests, and recognition. Annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Ms. Amy Schultz and Mr. Aaron Nielsen or Nelson? Nielsen. Awesome. Welcome.
All right, good evening, board. I'm gonna do the quick introduction. So every year, public school districts are required to do an audit. So this is something that we do every single year and bring it back to the board as a presentation. We wrapped up fieldwork in early November, and the board was given an update at that time as to where everything stood, so nothing tonight is a surprise. Audit reports will be posted on the website tomorrow after they've been presented tonight. And as you mentioned, we have Aaron Nielsen, a principal at Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, Radosevich. They are our independent auditors who have been doing the district's audit for a number of years now, and he will give you a quick summary of the results.
Good evening. Perfect. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. As Amy mentioned, I understand you have seen the results of the financial statements and your financial position. I know you had your truth and taxation in the last meeting, so a lot of the information I would be sharing with you is probably going to be some repeat. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly at a very high level, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay and talk about it, but I'll move through it pretty quickly. So tonight you have their annual financial statements, the special purpose reports have been issued, and our management report. So I'll move through our slides, which is largely information from our management report. So the results of our audit will go pretty quickly here. So we're pleased to report that we have issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on your financial statements. So as of June 30th, 2023, the financial statements fairly present your financial position and the results for the year then ended. We did have to consider new GASB standards, and that was completed with this year's audit. With regard to the internal control and compliance for the financial audit, we're pleased to report there were no material weaknesses and no instances of non-compliance to report. As I said, it'll go pretty quickly because we're pleased to report with the legal compliance manual, the 7 broad categories. We had no instances of non-compliance to report for the district this past year. And with regard to the federal single audit, so you receive well in excess of the $750,000 threshold that requires the additional testing. We have issued a clean report as noted on the CFA or Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards, and we had no material weaknesses or instances of non-compliance. So exactly what you're looking for with the results of the audit. The rest of my slides will move through the information that really is included in your annual comprehensive financial report or within our management report. We include a table or this graph to show your adjusted ADM, or that average daily membership for the students served by the district for the past 10 years. For 2023, that amounted to about 5980 in the current year, which was a decrease. So the district had been growing for many years, as you can see here, but did have a decrease of about 80 or 1.3% compared to the prior year, which was anticipated with the budget and planned for with regard to the financial results this past year. I've got a couple of slides for the general fund, which is your primary operating fund. We show a 10-year history here using expenditures to show the size of the operation over this period. And then cash and unrestricted fund balances are usually 2 measures for financial health. So that's what we're showing you on the 10-year history that we presented in the graph before you. The next slide we have for the general fund dives a little deeper into the equity components, so the fund balance of the general fund this past year. You can see that change in the percentages of unassigned fund balance. The district has continued to meet your fund balance policy goals. This past year, you reported a decrease in the unassigned fund balance, which was matched by an increase in your assigned fund balance for specific capital and other related needs that the board has identified or management has identified for the district. And a couple more for the general fund. Looking at revenues, as we've talked about in the past, your organization, the total revenues for the general fund amounted to $82.3 million. So just to get a feel for the size of your organization and the general fund operation alone, revenues came in better than anticipated or over budget, which we like to see. And then you had an increase over the prior year with funding improvements, with general education formula allowances approved by the state legislature. A comment I generally make at all my presentations for our schools, you can see that where your funding comes from for the general fund of finance operations. State source is making up the majority of that, like we see at all our districts. For yours, it's accounting for about 75% of the general fund revenues, and then followed by property taxes, making up 16% this past year. And then last slide for the general fund, we present your expenditures. So within that annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, we focus on programs. So district support service, administration, elementary, secondary, regular instruction, and the various categories there. The slide we have before you focuses on the object categories, so salaries and benefits and purchase services, supplies, capital, and other. This past year, your expenditures totaled about $78.2 million for expenditures. They came in very close to budget, about 1.1% below what was anticipated in the budget, and essentially about the same as what the prior year spending level was. And then a comment I always share too, as you can see, what it takes to educate your students, the primary expenditures in the general fund, the salary and benefits, making up about 71.7% this past year. A couple of your other operating funds for the district, the food service fund, the community service fund. Just to give you a size, as we were talking about $80 million for the general fund, your food service operation was about $3.5 million, and the community service fund was about $4.1 million. The food service fund saw a slight increase in fund balance this past year, and that year-end fund balance represents about 33.6%. It's almost exactly where I'd say where that cap is for what the federal government would say you should have in the food service fund. They use about 3 months of operations on a 9-month window, so I look at it simply as 33%, and essentially where you're at right now. You can see the community service fund does not quite have the fund balance compared to the food service fund, but has about 3.2% of the annual expenditures. So a leaner operation there, you're closer to fund balances to the annual expenditures. I think I might be about to my last slide, or I am. So your internal service fund, as you can see here, my comment there is essentially you had a break-even operation for the past 2 years, and really the goal of what your internal service funds are meant to do. Your internal service funds are used for the self-insurance activities of the district for health and dental for the past, several years is how you've used them. So with that, it gets me through my slides. Your annual financial report has a lot of information included within there, statistical tables. There is some entity-wide discussions in there that you don't spend as much focus on because you're really operating under that budgetary purposes. So I figured we'd stop at that, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer it.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, just one question. So what is the difference between assigned and unassigned budgets?
Sure.
Just a little clarifying question.
Yep. So if you went top to bottom on the fund balance components, it's almost like unfortunately restricted as one of the categories, so how you can utilize the dollars. So when you start at the top, a restricted component would be dollars where the state says how you can use them. An assigned category is one where the board has decided here's how we're going to utilize those dollars. And unassigned are everything after all those previous components. So, good question.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, moving on to discussion, reports, and information items. Effective operations improve our effective management of human, financial, and physical resources. 2023-2024 enrollment registration and grade level transitions update.
Well, good evening, school board members and our community that are watching. Eric and I have very few numbers and graphics to show you, so sorry about that. But we have some really exciting news about enrollment and what's coming over the next couple months, as well as where we've been. So we've just flipped the calendar, and yet we've been well underway for our enrollment season for next school year, starting in September, since October, November, and we've had people registering here at the district office already since December, so we're really excited about that. So individuals who live in our community or in the surrounding communities, or you've heard the wonderful things that Spring Lake Park has to offer, we welcome you here, either at the district office or on our enrollment page, and all of our information regarding enrollment is available there. We are starting, like I said, both enrollment, but as well as all of our transition meetings, our parent conversations, and we're going to share that information with you here tonight. Each year we change up what we're doing. We tweak it slightly just to make sure that we're creating that warm experience for families, and regardless of when they're entering our system, we want them to know that we want to partner with them and to increase those relationships as they come in. So tonight specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about our kindergarten enrollment process and our early childhood programs. Erica is going to talk about our Westwood transitions, as well as elective course scheduling, and then talk about our high school transition as well. So class of 2037, that is the kindergarten class that we are welcoming in September. Yeah, take a moment. Makes your heart beat a little fast. So class of 2037. You'll see in a moment all of the ways that we're reaching out to our kindergarten families, those that we know of, and as well as our community regarding regular communications as well as events that we have coming up. So the important deadline that we want everyone to know, and deadline is, the word is deadline, but we have a priority placement date of the last day of February for families to submit their enrollment. That is especially important if families are choosing to do Spanish immersion programming, or if they're choosing to do inter-district transfer, or an open enrollment. So we want to make sure, one, that we have the right staffing in place. So having that early enrollment is important, but we want to make sure families have all the information that they need as early as possible. So as I said earlier, we've been communicating with our families in our community since early November. We had a broad mailing go to all households with children who are ages 0 to 5, with an invitation to start touring our sites, take a look at our early childhood programs. It was interesting to see the uptick in our early childhood program registration after that brochure hit homes. And then in December, we saw another uptick when we had a letter mailed out to our families who were of kindergarten age. So it's been exciting to see. In January, just a week ago, we saw a brochure, a kindergarten brochure that was a little bit more targeted to our kindergarten families hit homes. And at that time, that brochure really laid out the next 9 months. What can families expect? What do they need to do? And so our families are well informed, and we're seeing them every day coming in here and dropping off materials, doing the process at home or here at our stations. In February, if we have not heard from you and we're expecting you, we have you on our list, perhaps from a screening list or a birth list. We're going to start calling you and say, hey, we haven't seen you. Please come in and get enrolled. We want to make sure that our families have every opportunity to be well informed. And then finally, March through May, we'll have our confirmation letters and phone calls will continue, as well as K and action events in May. And that's our opportunity to get to know each one of those kindergarten learners a little bit better and their families. I did fail to mention that in January, end of January, we start our K kickoff event nights. So those nights are for families who maybe aren't sure what program they're looking for, what school they'd like to attend. Maybe it's their first kindergartner and they're just not sure what to expect. You haven't had a chance to tour our schools. These K kickoff events are a great opportunity to do that. So the events are, I believe, 5:30 to 7:30 with a principal message at 6 o'clock, and tours and preschool staff are there. So it's our opportunity just to welcome folks into our building and let them know who Spring Lake Park schools are. And then finally, all the way in August, we'll have our kinder camp, and we'll welcome those kids for the first time into on school buses. They'll have a chance to go through the lunch line and the breakfast line, and so it's just a really cool 9-month process to welcome our kindergartners, to make sure that they are ready to go for September.
Well, probably the next biggest transition a Panther experiences is moving that 4th grade to 5th grade move. And it's bigger because that's the first time that everyone comes together at Westwood. Through ongoing connections with families of our current 4th graders, both at online and in-person events, we're hoping to make that transition as seamless as possible. We really want students and families to feel confident and comfortable when they're heading over to Westwood. That process has already started. You can see here the high-level sort of major touch points, if you will. In December, our K-4 principals started sharing with families sort of the plan once the new year begins, and sort of starting to make that warm handoff to the Westwood team. Later this week, actually, an introductory email will go to 4th grade families from the Westwood team. They'll introduce themselves and sort of lay out some of the opportunities that are coming up in January and February to get their first introduction to Westwood. On January 24th, the Westwood team will host general overview sessions of Westwood. They'll do that online, 3 different opportunities, and a recording of that will also be available for families who aren't able to attend. And then on February 2nd, all students and families are invited to Westwood Welcome, which is that opportunity to come and tour the building. That's 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And on that evening, they offer several brief info sessions on a variety of topics. So it's really a great opportunity to see the building, have that interaction with staff, and learn a little bit more. And then finally, my favorite one is in May, when the fourth grade students during the school day get a special bus ride over to Westwood to spend time at school with the kids, so they get a sense of what that experience is like. And then in 7th and 8th grade is really the first chance that students have to make choices in the courses that they're taking. So it's Westwood team also hosts some information sessions related to that. It's maybe less of a traumatic, I guess, transition because you're walking across the hallway over at Westwood. But still, it's a really different model of learning to move into that secondary model. Preparation for those registration activities are really starting now. Westwood counselors have one-on-one and then small group conversations with students. They will look at their learner profiles and really help students figure out what's an elective path that might make sense for me. Elective courses are open choice. Students can sort of explore, or they can choose to stay in one elective path for the year. And of course, families are invited to learn more. We have a couple of dates, February 27th and February 28th. 27th is more focused on 6th grade families with a little bit more about the transition into middle school. And then the 28th is focused more on the 8th grade families. And you can see here we have a URL, much like we do for the high school, sort of an online hub where all the materials will be. So families can browse those at their convenience. And again, we put the recordings of the sessions on that page. And then finally, high school registration. Over the past several years, we've been on a journey with high school registration. And just recognizing that what's the right balance of opportunities to support and guide, as well as the right balance of information. Working with the high school admin team, counselors, our communications team, we've really been working hard to have a goal of really having that right combination of experiences. Really wanting to support students in their future planning and also providing that variety so folks can get the help they need in the way they want it. And actually, we took time last summer to document where we have been on this journey. And as we were looking out and around at other districts, we were like, oh, we are doing this a lot differently. We have listened to a lot of people. A lot of high schools do a really short window. There's not a lot of opportunity to engage. So we wrote up our approach, our planning and strategy and implementation, and we were recognized with a Golden Achievement Award by the National School PR Association last summer. So, we still have ways to go, always ways to improve, but I think that's an important thing for our students and families to know, that we've really invested in that. So just a high-level overview of the timeline and activities. Really, we spend this first part of January really focused on that plan, like going back to your individual plan. And then January 30th is the first time, as they have for the last several years, high school counselors go to Westwood during the day. They begin to orient 8th graders. And that's really their first opportunity to create their 4-year plan. And then last Friday, registration materials were available on the website hub, which you can see the URL here. And on that hub, you'll find an interactive course catalog you can search. And then there's also, for those who are maybe more linear thinkers, a browsable sort of registration guide as well. In addition, the recordings will be there. There's an FAQ. There's just an abundance of information. Registration will open on January 16th. And students officially register in campus, and then it closes on February 23rd. And during that registration window, the high school team is going to be hosting grade level information sessions for families. They're doing an evening and a morning option. And then February 7th, they're going to host a big event, in-person event from 5 to 7. And again, that will include brief sessions that people can attend to learn more about college credits, pathways. The athletics and activities fair will be open, so there's a lot of great opportunity there to engage. And I just want to say, Colleen and I stand up here and we represent the work of a bunch of people who are involved in all of these efforts. I can't give enough credit to our principals and APs, our counselors. They just really invest a lot in trying to make all of this a great experience for students and for families. So check out the online calendar. There's something going on practically every day. So, and any questions?
Board, any questions? I know, we're very easy. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, the PR Gold Standard Award, in my opinion, way overdue for the amount of work that we do as a district and everybody involved. I mean, I'm proud of the work that we do. I'd be the first one to shout it from the mountaintops of, hey, look at Spring Lake Park, look what we do. Because I think we have the right people and the right positions in the right places. And it's not about a job, it's about the passion of what we do. And it's about the students. So congratulations, thank you for all the tremendous work that you do. And those that are supporting you.
I was just gonna say thank you as well, but the one thing I wanted to just mention for the board, we were together, in November, December, at the retreat. One of the things we looked at, as you provide feedback to, was that where we put together the journey of what is personalized learning. And a number of you made comments about this is something that should really, we gotta get out in front of people, drive people, because I know 25 years ago, we didn't think a lot about what was your market share, for example, right? Of how many of the residents were coming to your school district. And that's something that's important now. People often ask, why are you sending out these brochures and doing that? Well, because there's a multitude of options for families. It's not because we're out trying to recruit from across the school lines, district lines. What we're wanting to do is make sure that we're attracting those families within our district, because I think you saw on that journey, which we'll get out in front of people, I don't think there's anywhere that a Spring Lake Park resident could send their child where they're going to get a more personalized journey. That said, we know we're always on that journey also of continuously improving that. So there's things we want to improve with that 4-year math at high school. There's things we need to improve with that. There's things we need to improve early. But it is something that we're always working on. And I think just that journey of the registration, that experience we have for families kind of speaks to and aligns with that journey that we want families to have. So we'll continue working at it, and but if you get questions from anybody about why is all this information going out to people about to register, well, it's because there's a lot of choices for people, and we want them to know that they don't have to make another choice. This is a great choice to make right now. So that's it.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, moving on to effective operations, improve our effective management of human, financial, and physical resources, monthly financial report for November 2023. Ms. Amy Schultz.
All right, so what could be better than 2 financial reports in back-to-back months? So,
This makes my month.
yes. Tonight we are presenting our monthly financial report as we do each month. Tonight we are discussing November of 2023, and we will run through the same 3 reports that we do on a monthly basis. The first one being our treasurer's report. It is our cash balance report showing our receipts and disbursements, as well as our beginning and ending cash balances by fund. On the receipts side, it's a little bit higher than a typical month. We have about $4.8 million in tax receipts. As the county collects taxes in October, we receive a payment in October and November. Those are the 2 large ones we receive in the fall. Same thing happens in the spring right after the May payments come in. And so in doing so, the MDE always cuts back on the amount that they pay us in those months. So it was a smaller month for the state payments, but overall, $9.5 million in receipts. Disbursements, November is typically a little bit of a slower month as we've paid off most of our summer facilities work and haven't kicked in with a lot of the upcoming work that we're planning for into future years. So with that, you can see we have just under $68 million in cash at the end of November. On the statement of revenue, this is our month of November revenues, our year-to-date, our budget for the school year. Again, this is still the original because the revised happened after November. So then where we are as a percentage of our budget in November and where we were the last 2 years at that same point. On the revenue side, you can see the general fund is really kind of right in line with where we have been. On the food service side, a couple of years, the previous 2 years were a little higher. 2 years ago was a lot of the federal, state COVID-related dollars where meals were also free for all students. Last year was a little higher than the current year as students were back to paying. Well, in that, people put money into their students' account. So there's a kind of a prepaid balance that kind of artificially inflates it. And this year, while meals are free again, the federal reimbursement rate isn't as high. So overall, the reimbursements are not as high as they were 2 years ago. On the community ed side, you can see that a couple of years ago was kind of really high compared to where we sit now. That was a combination of federal grants as well as a Panther Pantry donation of $135,000. So that's what's making that look a little bit higher 2 years ago. And then on the debt side, last year, the reason that one looks a little bit higher than it does in the other two surrounding years, the December 1st tax payment was actually received on November 30th. So it happened a month sooner. So by next month, it should level back out again. On the expenditure side, same report format. Within that, you can see that within the general fund, overall, we're just a little bit under where we have been the previous 2 years. One of the reasons for that is about $600,000 in transportation invoices for November. For October, we're not paid until December. They typically be paid in November. A lot of that was a little bit of a rougher startup as drivers were hard to get. And so sometimes we were doing a really good audit of our bills to make sure we weren't paying for routes where we had some snags. So with that, that one's just running a little bit different, lower than previous years. And then in addition to that, also that we had a lot of projects that were budgeted for this current school year that we haven't started yet, or will actually probably kick in closer to June, July, and August now. Furniture, solar, LED, all of those projects are scheduled to start this summer. On the food service side, we're a little bit higher than typical. We have at the high school purchased a new oven and refrigerators, like walk-in refrigerators, as well as 2 rolling heated cabinets. So that one's running a little bit high due to the capital purchases. So with that, that is what we have for November, if there are any questions.
Just a comment. Sorry, my voice is so weird tonight. Just thank you for all of your hard work. I just want to mention on the same night that we have this, unqualified, what is the term he uses? Clean report, anyway, from the auditors. You and your team do such an amazing job. It's a very, very large budget of almost $100 million that this district deals with every year. You guys do such a great job of managing it and keeping us informed, which is why we didn't have a whole bunch of questions during that presentation, because you do such a good job of sharing information with us and yet not overwhelming us. It's a fine balance. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, and to you and your whole team for doing such an amazing job. We appreciate you.
Other comments? Thanks, Amy. Okay, moving on to superintendent report.
Okay, there's a lot of things happening to just give you some brief updates on. This is just a fun one of my favorite programs that we have in the district. That's right here at our District Services Center is our Transitions and Life Skills programs for students who they've wrapped with high school, but they're spending a couple more years with us to learn some life skills, transition for career and life. And they were sharing a toast here in this picture at their end of the year party. So on the menu, you can see they had tater tot hot dish, some green bean casserole, and some fruit cocktail. They each made their own tater tot hot dish so they could learn each of the steps along the way. So they also maybe have some pictures next month of their new business that they were starting today. It was coffee and what else was it? Yeah, pizza, ice cream, coffee that they were selling throughout the day. So it's a lot of fun with those kids. Shark Tank, I think each of you are well aware of the Shark Tank that we do annually over at the high school. We had that right before winter break, and as always, it was a great success. We had 29 different projects. 5 finalists pitched their ideas for products and services to our local sharks. So the winner was Balanced Bites. Lily had a healthy bakery concept that she'd created. So again, this is only possible because of the business and industry experts from throughout the community that show up, that volunteer their time to listen to the pitches and most importantly, provide feedback. And then eventually choose that winning idea. So it's always a lot of fun. Supporting local families, so our OEC program, Opportunities in Emergency Care Program, they annually do a Support a Family campaign. They raised nearly $5,000 this year and purchased gifts for 82 different individuals. So 31 families also received items from the Panther Den and Food and Truck, food and turkeys throughout Anoka County Community Action. So a lot of things doing to reach out to the community. You heard about one award, also Reader's Choice Award. So Spring Lake Park High School has been voted the best public school in the area by readers of the local Life newspaper. So that was just something that we learned before break. So this was also kind of fun that just before break, Carey Institute at the University of Minnesota put together a comprehensive report looking at a kind of innovations in assessment, but a guide for school districts across the nation in how you can improve your assessment practices within your schools. And there were 5 school districts that they featured from across the nation, and only one in Minnesota, and that one was Spring Lake Park. So it was a lot of fun to see. They said evaluating student learning beyond the basics, but how can you really personalize that assessment, do that work? And it was a lot of fun to be selected, and they spent time, Hope spent a lot of time talking with them as they interviewed her and put together this report. But that wasn't something we applied to do. That was something that we were selected from as they looked for different districts that were doing some good work. So it's a lot of fun to see the work be recognized. Now some upcoming things. We have our one-act play here later in January. We cannot share the title yet, but as the cast prepares for the competition, so that can't be shared yet. But as you know, last year for the first time they won and qualified for state. I went down to that. It was a blast to go to. So I encourage people to really get out. I know that I was amazed at just the quality of the performance last year when I went to it. It was so fun. So, and then we talked about this last month, but again, a part of our Live on 65 series, we have a comedian coming on February 8th. Encourage people to get out for that. Panther Puzzle Mania, we see the Peterson family featured in the picture there as they scrambled to win. However, they were not the victors. No. That was probably the Wisconsin background. But so they'll be doing that again this year on February 10th. And how quick did the winning group win again? 23 minutes. They put together the 500-piece puzzle. So 500-piece puzzle.
I wasn't even aware this was a competition.
You're welcome just to come and watch if you're not aware, but.
So check it out. It was a lot of fun. But it sold out last year too, didn't it? Space? I thought so. Okay, then we have our Westwood musical coming up in February and early March. And again, encourage people to get out and see Oliver Jr., see our students in action. And again, so we featured some of the upcoming theater. There's also all kinds of games going on at our high school, across the metro area, up at Fogarty, so on. I encourage people to get out and see our kids in action, whether it be on the stage, playing games. It's great to see the kids doing what they love. So, and then Panthers for a Purpose. So that's a giving party, February 18th to 24th, party at the end of that week. So encourage people to get involved in any way that they can. So, and then I was going to share too, two different things. One is then the next week, so I can share on this maybe next month. I was invited, so I'm going to be a judge for the first time for FCCLA a week from this Friday. So we've heard about the program for years, and I've gone and seen them, but I've never been on the judge side, so now I'll get to be a judge. So it'll be fun. I was invited to do that, so that will be fun to do. And then just to let you know, having ongoing conversations with both the city of Blaine and Spring Lake Park. People have asked about liaison officers. They're both being great, providing services and so on for the district. But hopefully here early in February, when the legislature reconvenes, they've made a promise to come together to address some of the concerns that law enforcement has with the legislation that was put in last spring. And so hopefully they'll come together and do that. But both cities have been great as far as in their ongoing support. And I just wanted to point that out. Fridley all along, Fridley kept their officers in place. We still have a liaison officer working when needed. That's it.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? Okay, moving on to action items. Can I get a motion to approve, can I get a motion for acknowledgement of gifts? So, motion moved by Villela and second by McClellan. To approve the following resolution. Whereas School Board Policy 706 establishes guidelines for the acceptance of gifts to the district, and whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 states that a school board may accept a gift of real or personal property by the adoption of a resolution approved by 2/3 of its members. Therefore, be it resolved that the school board of Spring Lake Park Schools accepts with appreciation the gifts as shown. Any discussion, any comments? Yes. Very much so. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Clerk, would you please call the roll? And, Marilyn, you don't forget to turn your mic on. Thank you.
Ms. Hannon,
Yes.
Ms. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Villela. Yes. Ms. McClellan,
Yes.
Ms. Forsberg, yes. Mr. Easter.
Yes,
That resolution is adopted on a 6-0 vote.
thank you. And moving on to board forum, I will start with our student reps. Welcome.
Hi, it's lovely to be here again. So starting off with athletics, we're midway through the winter season for the winter sports. Girls hockey is our best team currently. We do that combined with Centennial, and we're 7th in the state right now. And we expect huge attendance for their doubleheader with Irondale in a couple weeks. Dance team performed in Florida last week at the ReliaQuest Bowl. In, I believe it was Tampa. Okay. And then the Battle of Fogarty Arena will be happening on the 27th as Spring Lake Park takes on Blaine Hockey.
And ski just recently had a great time at their bonding trip where, and last month at their meeting, girls placed first at their meet and boys placed third. Alpine ski has doubled in numbers, and the girls the girls team is placing second in their conference. And then SLP student Olivia Rowe and her synchronized skating team, the Northettes Junior, have been named Team USA for the 2023-2024 season, and they'll be representing the United States in Salzburg, Austria at the Mozart Cup this month, and next month in Helsinki, Finland at the Mary Lundmark Trophy in February. And then also spring registration, it will be opening next month. So you think it's middle of winter, but spring is already on its way.
And then moving into activities, as Mr. Ronenberg mentioned, we'll be hosting the one-act play preliminary round soon, and then Osseo hosts the final round. Our band will be having their annual trip visit the 8th graders soon. And then our FCCLA chapter is now headed by Torrin Johnson, and they will be going to the regional competition for the personal projects known as STAR events shortly.
And with Student Council, we have officially welcomed new members, and we have jumped right into Winter Spirit Week, as that is officially underway. During our meetings, we have been in our committees, hard at work planning out a wonderful week of winter. We have already decided on spirit dress-up days and decorations, and then our big events during this week, which will be from January 29th through the February 2nd. That Wednesday, we will be having the Power Buff game, which is between junior and senior boys. It's a volleyball game. That will be the one that Wednesday at 6:30, and the dance will be on Friday, February 2nd at 7 p.m.
Awesome. I'm exhausted just from hearing all which is great. I love hearing about all the activities and things that are going on at the high school. It's wonderful. I did not know that the Northettes were associated with Spring Lake Park.
They're not, but a lot of the figure skaters that do things at the National Sports Center and want to continue in that competitive field end up going to the Northern Nets.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 students? Okay. How exciting. I saw that on the news and I'm like, I've never heard of it again. I must be living under a rock or something. But how exciting to have something after, you know, you kind of think your figure skating career is over. Yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Board members, any updates? We start on this side. Amy?
All right, first I want to apologize to Evan, who's asking this very good question, and I was trying not to cough, and it came out as a super rude snort sound, so I'm very sorry. It was a great question. Forgive me, I'm trying to control my voice over here. I went to North Point last night to their PTO meeting, and just a couple of quick highlights I was going to mention. Their behavior specialist did a talk last night about their approach to behavior, and I'm sure it's the same throughout the district. In the elementary schools, and it was just a super interesting presentation about kind of like zones of regulation with kids, and how if a kid is having trouble in any given day, they kind of talk them through the size of their problem and the size of the reaction, and how the two main rules are being safe and kind. And if there's any issues, they first ask them, is this behavior safe and kind? And if it's not both, we need to talk a little bit about, it was just a wonderful presentation about how they work with the kids, because whenever a kid might be having a behavior of any kind, even a small one, it's generally not about what's happening right at that moment. It's about something else, and identifying what that child really needs and meeting them where they're at. And so it was a really great presentation. And then they also talked about, gave some feedback on the new report cards, which the response to the elementary report cards was really positive. They really liked having all that information. They had a couple of feedback points, because a lot of the parents, of course, also have middle schoolers and high schoolers, so they had some thought positive on those as well. A couple of refinements they suggested, but I can chat with Erica on those at some point. But it was good feedback, so that was great, because I know that was a new thing this year. And one last thing I was going to mention, because we talk so much about partnerships in our district, they are having their winter event this year, and I guess they did last year too, I think, I missed it, at the National Sports Center. And so the kids, I think, can ice skate and do a bunch of things there. And I just thought that was really fun, because typically it's something that happens in the school building, so I thought it was fun. They were reaching out to some of our community partners, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else from this side? Marilyn? Don't forget to turn your mic on.
I was at Park Terrace PTA meeting earlier this evening, and I'm not sure whether it's a charter or just what they need, that they didn't have their documents as officially existing, but that has been presented to the Secretary of State and has been moved to them, so they are now an official organization, and that they were very pleased about that. They're doing a literacy night and a book fair and several other activities. I listened to the AMSD presentation. I don't know if anybody else was there. Talking about the use of data and what the state is planning to do, which sounds big and impressive. Scott Kronquist, the executive director, told us not to look for anything too big in the line of new finances, because even though there's a surplus right now, the prediction is that it will be a deficit into the next biennium. So if there are any monies available, they will probably be one-time monies. And the Cruz Guzman lawsuit, which has been going on for about 10 years, is still going on. It's in district court, and if you've read the newspaper, the people who interpreted the findings as winnings and losings, and who knows? So that will continue for some time. So that was the extent of that meeting. And 916 won't meet until the 17th in order to give districts an opportunity to select their representatives. And this Thursday and Friday is MSBA Leadership Conference with some events on Wednesday evening. So they have also trying to avoid that. So that will be upcoming.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Can I share one more thing?
Sure.
One thing I forgot to mention in my update was both of these, students are on the superintendent advisory council at the high school that I meet with a number of times throughout the year. It's actually one of my highlights, when I get to go over there and talk with, the young people there, and they always have awesome ideas, and, the last two in particular, because we've been asking a lot of questions about personalized learning, how can we develop more agency? And to just see them, their thinking shift as they, talk more and go deeper, and you see their excitement build, it's just a blast. And I wanna say, they're here adding value, but they're adding a lot of value in that way, and, I know that one of my colleagues in his district, I talked to him, told him that I've been doing this, he started doing this, so, we're thinking hopefully in March that we'll get the two advisories from the two high schools together, and, so they kind of get out of their world and can hear ideas from other students and get some ideas, so that will be a next step. It's a way that we get student voice that helps inform some of the work that you hear and the reports that you hear, so that it's not just the adults, informing the work that we do, but we're really getting that student voice as well. So, thank you to both of you for your volunteering your time
Yes,
with
thank
us.
you. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing your voice and helping us with our continuous improvement. All right. Any other updates? If not, we will move to adjournment. Can I get a motion? So moved by Schmidt. Second by Villela, to adjourn our meeting at 7:56. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thanks.